I'm Autumn Jordan, Annapolis class of 2019. After Annapolis, I went to Wayne State, and I'm a pre-social work major, and I'll be a sophomore next fall, and I'll be class of 2023 by the time I graduate.
Caitlin Peterson. I graduated from Annapolis High School in 2019, and after high school, I went off to Eastern Michigan University, and my major is finance, and I will graduate in 2023. And I'll probably stay another year or two for my master's degree.
I'm Tanner Bonner. I graduated in the Annapolis class of 2018. I'm currently, I'm going to be a junior now at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, Massachusetts, right near Boston. I'm attending there for a 4-year degree in computer science and engineering with a minor in statistics and data science.
My name is Jenny Dang. I graduated from Annapolis in 2018. I go to school at U of M, and my major is biology, health, and society, but basically pre-med.
I'm Ann Domer. I graduated in 2018, class of 2018. I went to MSU, so Michigan State University, and I'm going to be graduating from here in 2020. I'm planning on going into veterinary school after my undergrad, so I'll do 4 years of undergrad and then go into 4 years of vet school if I get in, which hopefully I will. So right now my major is animal science, and I'm on the pre-vet track. So.
All right. Hi, I'm Hannah Cordy. I graduated from Annapolis in 2012. I went to the College for Creative Studies and graduated in 2016. From there with a bachelor's degree in fine arts and photography. And after that, I started working with other commercial photographers in the area, assisting them, doing retouching, and also doing my own photography, and shortly, hopefully, turning my business into an official LLC, and yeah.
My name's Aaron Matney. I graduated AHS in 2009, which makes me feel old as dirt because it seems like it was just yesterday. I went to U of M Dearborn for a while, for about 5 years or so. And then some bureaucracy happened, and that forced me to have to go to Henry Ford College, which I graduated this is 2020, right? Yeah, so last year. Last year I graduated with an associate's in the culinary arts from Henry Ford.
So at MIT, everyone has to live on campus for their first year. So I was living in one of the big dorms, like right in the center on campus. I was given a roommate. It was pretty much like through like a match program or whatever it is. You just fill out like stuff about you and who you are, and they kind of just send you off. We weren't like too compatible. He had like issues, I don't know, with like noises past midnight, but it was fine. It wasn't like the most compatible roommate ever, but I really did like being on campus, like in the dorm, because there were so many people around me to where it was really easy to build a community like for myself and be able to interact with people and make a lot of new friends because there were so many people there. I think being on campus and being in such a dense dorm was really helpful to build a lot of community. And I also had a dining hall, which I think made it very convenient for me because I could just go downstairs and go to the dining hall. Even they had like late night dining too. So that was really convenient for me.
I lived on campus in a Towers residential suite, which is really close to our student center. And I ended up in a suite D, which is where we all got our own single rooms, but we were all still 4 in the same room, shared a bathroom and everything like that. In the beginning, I actually had roommates that I was like getting along with and friends with, but then they dropped like before classes even started actually. So I ended up having me and one other roommate, and the 2 rooms were vacant for like all of my fall semester until winter semester. And then I got 2 international students that moved in with us. And it was really cool, especially because meeting international students and stuff like that. And I lived really close to the student center. So at night, if I didn't get to get food from the downstairs dining hall fast enough before they closed, I could always just walk across to our late night grill. And I could always go to the student center to do like homework and stuff like that and meet people.
I lived on campus and I lived on the dining hall Hoyt, which is kind of on the outskirts of campus. So it was a bit of a walk to everything, even though I was fairly close to the student center. And I also did have a roommate. I didn't talk to her enough in the beginning, like before school started. So when I got there, she was cool at first. And, people have their quirks. And I really didn't talk to her because we just had nothing in common. So I just stayed quiet. Then she ended up moving out, and I was fine with that. So, and the food on campus was not really good. I only particularly ate at one spot, some Mexican joint in a student center, or Chick-fil-A, but I mostly lived off pop and pretzels for my dorm room.
Living on campus was kind of scary, to be honest, because it was like I could do whatever I want and go wherever I wanted, but was that a good idea? Probably not. And I had to be cautious, like, especially if I was coming in late and there's not that many people around. I had to make sure that I had like my phone or like keep track, not put in earbuds or something like that. So it was pretty scary, but honestly, it's been a pretty good experience for me because I get to like kind of relax and just meet people and talk to people.
Like I met like some of my best friends there. Like I will never regret living on campus. Sometimes I miss it. I text my friends, I'm like, I wish we lived together.
Like for me, like I have a bigger family, so like not having my siblings around all the time and not having my parents there all the time, it was a different freedom than I was used to. And sometimes you'd be like, oh, okay, well I can go do this and I have to ask, kind of a thing. And so like you get used to kind of like doing stuff on your own, and you kind of have to, especially in college. But for me, it was different. Like, oh, when you go out to eat, like it's not this whole family with you. Like it's just you. Like you have to get used to doing stuff on your own and stuff like that. So that was bigger for me. But I never felt like I needed to like take a step back and like take a break from college itself.
Aspect of it, was I staying out a little later than I probably should have? Yeah. But I mean, I think that's just part of going to college.
I really didn't struggle with the freedom aspect of it. It was like, I guess more of a internal thing for me. Like it wasn't, oh, I'm away from my parents, I can just do whatever I want. Well, granted, I can do that, but it's like, what's the point? Like it's not really that exciting.
For me, it was a big change. So, like at home, my parents are pretty strict, and even now I still have to ask them to like go hang out with people. And so there's just like two different types of like 20-year-olds, the ones that can do whatever they want basically, and then me, I still have to ask my parents to leave the house. I struggled a lot with my mental health because I started to realize like any situation that happened at home is something that I can actually take a breather and like think about now. So like, let's say for example, like my mom moved away across the country. That's pretty big change for a high school student. And like in high school, I felt like, I was doing all this work and going to school for 8 hours or so. And then after school, I'd be going to student council meetings and then doing my homework, then going to sleep. And I didn't realize that I didn't give myself time to like think about that and kind of grieve a little bit, because that's a pretty rough situation to have.
Yeah, just like it's very overwhelming, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, you're like doing really good in high school, all this stuff. Which for me, like I had a really good high school experience. So like for me, I was like, great, we'll just do this again in college. And then I got there and it was like, whoa, pump the brakes. Like this is nuts. And like I said earlier, I spent a lot of time crying and didn't really deal with it. And also my sophomore year, there was a lot of like stuff going on outside of college that I never really dealt with. And I'm currently dealing with now. I actually started going to therapy as well recently to kind of like deal with some stuff that I never dealt with.
There were times where it was like overwhelming with like schoolwork or classes or like all of this due like one night kind of a thing, but it wasn't like to where I needed to go see help.
I felt overwhelmed. Mainly because I'm like a first gen student, so it's like you really don't know a lot of things like about college. Like you just see what you see on TV, but a lot of people tell you to ask questions. But the hard thing, and like a lot of people don't understand, you don't know what questions to ask until like the situation like is smack dead in your face, and nobody like really understand that.
Okay, so like from filling out the FAFSA, like I obviously like got money off, but there was still a big chunk that needed to be paid. MSU, like you fill out one general like application and they automatically apply you to a whole bunch of scholarships, and like some of them you have to like write essays for, but you automatically get applied to a bunch of general scholarships, and that like got some more money off.
So in terms of the starting point, which is like applying right for federal aid through the FAFSA, and also some schools like MIT, they require the CSS profile. It's kind of like the College Board's slightly extended version of the FAFSA. But the best thing on there is to really just kind of, I don't know, root for yourself, especially like just go for it and apply, especially if you have like unemployed parents or parents who's might be on disability like myself. I ended up getting an expected contribution like number of like 0, 0, 0, or all of that, which is like the lowest status, as in like you get the most money. So it's really a time for you to like be honest.
I was lucky enough to get a pretty good scholarship from U of M. And so I haven't had to worry about it too much, but like freshman year when I was living in a dorm, it was just like, I realized once I was looking at apartments for sophomore year, that chunk of money that I had to pay out of pocket was like the meal plan alone. And so I decided not to get a meal plan. And that's something that I think is, if you can do it and if you think you can like afford groceries and things like that, I think that's honestly a good thing, because personally for me, I didn't know how to cook coming out of high school. So I was just like, okay, I'm not going to get a meal plan. I'm going to force myself to learn how to cook. And groceries are expensive, but not as much as a meal plan.
I was offered a scholarship through Wayne State, but that still didn't cover like meal plan. Especially as a freshman, you have to pick a meal plan when you pick like your residential. So there was meal plan, and then there was like dining in on campus and stuff like that. And then Warrior Books and stuff like that would like help you eat throughout the day without using meal plan money or whatever. And then that doesn't cover books and stuff like that, or whatever extra you need for classes and stuff like that. I ended up taking a couple of loans out and stuff to pay for classes.
Well, I did get a scholarship from the school, but that wasn't enough. Like room and board is pretty expensive. Like that's a huge chunk right there. So I did end up having to take out loans, but I am also fortunate to sometimes pay out of pocket for books, or like if the monthly bill come up and we can afford it, we pay that way.
Sometimes you have schools that are merit-based scholarships that they provide funding for you in your tuition, but you also sometimes have other schools, sometimes private schools, which have more of a need-based. So once you get accepted, it's more of a matter of they try to cover what your FAFSA says you can afford.
Did apply for a lot of scholarships. I ended up getting one through the school that did not cover everything. The price tag, holy cow, is like kind of a shocker once you get there. I think mine was like 16 grand a semester, like absolutely ridiculous, not including books. And I also did not live on campus, so that was also not including room or food or any of that stuff.
It's also scholarships, like departmental scholarships, depending on what, like for me, I'm in the college business, so I'll primarily look there. Or like Eastern has this, like kind of like this universal pot of money. You apply for it if you have time. I'm sad I didn't have time. It was stressful. But there's plenty of stuff out there like FastWeb as well. You can apply for scholarships through that way.
I've never actually paid an ounce of tuition at MIT. I have a full-on scholarship, and that isn't from just like a certain score or a certain this, and MIT is not the only school that will cover your aid that much. But you know, if they do need-based aid and so forth, or even if you win merit-based aid, you can definitely get a large chunk of your tuition cut off.
I thought about getting a job my first year, but my mom said that you have to look at your workload for a second and like make sure you can handle all of that, especially as a freshman coming straight out of high school and college. She didn't think I'd be able to handle that, and I see now I definitely wouldn't have been able to handle that.
Maybe freshman year you want to get acclimated to the environment, so you don't want to worry about like cooking and extra things like that. So maybe you do want to get a meal plan and kind of get like that dorm life experience, and that's how it was for me. And then after that, you have to think about, like, how long am I going to be paying for all these loans if I keep living this way? So you have to consider like, oh, do I want to learn how to cook? Do I want to like get an apartment instead of live in a dorm? Things like that.
That hasn't meant I haven't had expenses. I've actually had quite a few times where I've run into like a lot of pitfalls because I like financially support myself most of the time unless I get into bad situations. So I've been working since I was in high school, and then I continued working in college to be able to have money past like, because my food and my housing were covered and so forth. But if you want to go out and do anything, right, if you want to like be social, you have to do something to work. So I was working like a desk job, eventually a research job, and I've kept a research job ever since.
But a lot of people who do go to campus and stuff like that end up working on campus, so it's different. I had a friend who she's of senior status now, but she ended up like she worked on campus like as well as like living on campus, so like she was already there. So when it was time for her to work, you just have to go downstairs and stuff like that, and you can get paid for like sitting there to watch cameras but still do what you need to do and stuff like that.
Thankfully, I have gotten to a point where a lot of my scholarship and stuff I had been saving up covered a lot of it, but still I was still having to pay like couple $1,000s out of pocket every semester to kind of cover everything, just for tuition, and then a couple $100 for books every semester as well as supplies, because I need a lot of other things other than just books. Also gas and all that stuff. I ended up getting a job, and at one point was going to school full time and working 2 jobs.
I've had a job the past 2 years, and they've been different. Like my job freshman year was in the dining hall, and I absolutely hated that. And I could not. It made like a lot of money compared to my research job now, but I hated it. So make sure that you have a job that you actually kind of like to make your life a little bit easier. I
got out of high school, I got into college, and suddenly that student debt started racking up, and I had no way to pay for it.
My one recommendation, if anybody takes anything away from anything I personally have said, is keep track of your expenses and your mileage, because when you do taxes, it's very helpful. And that's something that I have found to be very helpful, even just working. That can be written off on taxes sometimes. So yeah, keep track of what you're spending money on, keep receipts, all that good stuff.
Things come up, and things will come up. And all the seniors will, if they haven't had this happen, it will definitely happen in their lives at some point. Something bad is going to happen, and it's going to come out of left field, and you're never going to prepare for it. And suddenly you're going to have to find the money to take care of it. That's going to happen, and you can't stop it.
They should definitely just keep an open mind going into their freshman year, and make sure that they're keeping themselves on track as best as they can, and to really look for help if they need it, because there's so many resources that a lot of people just don't use, which is kind of crazy.
Definitely take advantage of all the resources you have. I mean, the tuition you pay for, all of that stuff goes towards those resources, so you might as well utilize them while they're there and make your money's worth, right?
I think definitely something that I have learned and still am learning is definitely try and get as many experiences as you can. At least with what I'm doing, as sometimes it's not the most exciting job or thing to do, but it's always a learning experience, and I think that is something that's super valuable.
The transition from high school to college, you can think you know how it's going to go, but it's not going to go exactly how you think. So you have to be prepared to make decisions and to change things around a little bit. But mostly you have to be able to find a balance between social life and schoolwork, because I know that a lot of times when I have friends who are busy, or when I wasn't speaking to anybody, sitting alone in your dorm room is not the best thing to do, especially when you're on a campus full of a lot of people. Like, you could go sit in the library or the student center and start conversations up like that or something like that, but you have to find a balance so you don't feel like you're alone when there's so many people around you who are probably interested in the same thing or who probably are going through the same thing that you are. So it's easier if you just find somebody or find a group of people and you stick with them.
In the perspective of your own well-being, a lot of universities, if not all universities, should have some sort of like wellness resource center if you're ever physically stressed, mentally stressed, especially if you have a mental illness like anxiety or depression. There's a lot of resources there where you can actually talk with people who are like counselors, so to speak, and they can help you get extensions on assignments and so forth. So all of that infrastructure is there in college, and it's really great to utilize.
Never stop learning. Always keep interested in things that you want to do, and also if you need to, take time like for your mental health. Like, I know we talked about it earlier, but that's something that's super important, and I'm learning more so now.
My advice would be to not dwell on things. Obviously it sounds kind of harsh, but like you can't control everything that happens to you, so you just need to know that like if you like freshman year, my first assignment in one of my classes, I missed it. Like, I don't know what happened. I just wasn't used to the scheduling, the website, whatever. I guess he didn't mention it or something. I just like completely did not do that assignment. And I was like, well, I'm going to fail and I'm going to drop out of college. But I just learned to like things like that. They're going to happen and you just can't dwell on them. Just move on, try your best.
When it comes to general life after high school, the biggest thing I can tell anyone is live every day like the way Mr. Rogers would want you to.
College is definitely different from high school, and depending on what your major is, it's going to be slightly more difficult for you or slightly less difficult compared to somebody else's. And definitely try to schedule, I'm not going to say schedule your life around your classes, but kind of, so you can get a balance. And also ask plenty of questions and go to events on campus, because you meet people that may be in your class or who've been in the class before and can help you out.
And just don't hang on to things that like you do wrong, because that can really drag you down. And you will end up doing a lot of things wrong in college and you'll end up regretting it, but you have to know that you like learn from it and you're better off having experienced that.
But you can't make the world better by just acknowledging that there's bad. You have to work to overcome it. And if you can do that just one day at a time, just bring one smile to someone else's face each day. You've fought against that darkness and you've won.
But yeah, be excited for college because it's really fun. That's about it.